So you want to grow on Skool, your community set up, but you're only getting a few members and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. If that sounds like you, then maybe you want to keep watching this video. So you want to grow your Skool and make some money, right? But I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. I think you're focusing on grinding on YouTube or Skool or Instagram, whatever your platform is, trying to push people through, get clicks onto your Skool, and then convert them into members and then potentially make money off them. This isn't the way to do it. I think this is slow growth. I think it's hard to sell them when they get in. I think what you really need to do before you start grinding and try to get people into your community is actually building an offer that works, presenting yourself as the authority within your community, and then giving them an actual reason to join. And then if you do that, then people are going to want to buy things from you because you've actually solved their problem or you've presented yourself in the right way. And that's the first step. It's not finding people to join your community, it's actually presenting yourself first. And this is boring stuff. But it's incredibly important, and it is the reason why you're not growing. So I've already been working with some of the large creators on Skool. My background is in high ticket stuff, and I've sold $2.6 million for my clients in my industry, and now I'm moving over to Skool. So I've worked with Nate, and he's told me this as well. Like, it's something that we've been prioritizing, but we just haven't gotten around to it. And I've helped him out with it, and now he's benefiting from that conversion rate increase. I've also helped people with good communities that just weren't presenting their message properly, like Nick, and he said, I can't keep track of the newest members. It's so active. I've climbed 100 spots from to number 220 in hobbies since last month, and I haven't even implemented everything we talked about. So this stuff is like incredibly powerful, and it's all the most simplest things you can imagine, but it's about knowing exactly what to focus on and then doing it in sequence. If you'd like to look at this in more detail, head over to my Skool community about page secrets, and you can watch the whole 3-lesson course. You can also, if you're on Classroom, scroll down and click on this here, and this is a free audit that I'll do of your community, and I'll spend an hour with you and break down all of these things and tell you exactly the roadmap of what you need to do in order to increase your conversion rate on your Skool community. So the video that you're going to watch is going to break down exactly what your story is, what your offer is, who your ideal client is, and how to attract them and get people to convert at a higher rate on your community. Hi guys, welcome to the free conversion course. This is a 3-step course. Step 1 is finding your winning offer. I'm going to talk about all the success secrets and the conversion secrets that I've learned over the course of my 7-year career selling high ticket stuff, and on the Skool platform, working with people like Nate, who's in the top 3 communities on the platform, is #1 in tech, and with a bunch of you guys that I've already been working with and developing your offer and helping you with your VSLs and telling you exactly how you should be talking to your members and interviewing your members in order to get really high quality testimonials. Let's just jump straight into it. This first bit is all of the about page secrets, you can call it, of the things that I've learned over my career, and these can be boiled down into 4 steps, and this is very much like a speedy way of getting through all of this. You define who your ideal client is, you define what success means to them, and then you put together a step which you might already have of how you help them achieve that goal and that issue and essentially win in their minds and give them a transformation. And then once you have those transformations, if you already have them, great, then you have success stories that you can interview. You can interview your successful members and get really high quality converting items on your community and increase your conversion rate even further. That's exactly what we're going to look at within this first section. Just a quick note with this document, you can quickly make a copy by clicking File, Make a Copy here, and then you can actually edit the document if you want to use Google Docs. If you don't want to use Google Docs, you can click Download and then download it as a Word document, and then you can edit it in whichever Word thing that you use. Or you can just use pen and paper, but I just wanted to let you know how to do that. I'm going to invent a community, and then we're going to use that community to go through this worksheet and put together step 1 essentially. The example I'm going to go with is a web development community, so web dev, as for people that can't find clients, and this person, Alex, let's say, found clients and figured out a way to do this, and he's learned how to sort of monetize this, and he's grown this, and let's say he's grown it to 200,000 a year. But this is an example of a wealth transformation. You can only sell someone 4 things at the end of the day. That is status, wealth, health, and relationship. And your thing is probably going to focus on one of these things, and then almost always have status and then potentially have little bits of relationship and little bits of health or little bits of wealth, depending on your community, but I'll go into detail about that. So let's start off with the persona that Alex is helping with his web development community. So the age, let's say that Alex is a younger guy, so he helps people in his 20s to 30s. That off the bat is really important, because if you're someone that helps people that have got a successful career, then potentially they're a bit older. If you yourself are someone who is in an older demographic, then probably you're going to attract people in an older demographic, and vice versa. If you're younger, you attract younger. So if you can't answer any of these, then just think about, who am I and what do I look like, and then maybe it's probably a similar person that you're reaching out to. Alternatively, you can have a look in your community and have a look at what they look like if you go through their profiles and work out these different things. So let's say it's someone in their 20s, 30s, anywhere in the West. Their education doesn't matter and their income doesn't matter. So this is like widening the pool. They're probably employed, looking to be self-employed, and they're probably not married and don't own a house. So really quick, that's the first step. Next step is, what does your community look like? So now we need to work out what your community is about and what benefits the persona has if they join. So what's the community about? I, Alex, help people get through the main problem with not making any money when with their web design agency, let's say. I figured out how to get clients and I offer this for free, let's say, in my community web builders co, let's say. So he's got a community where he tells you all the secret sauce of how he basically made 100,000, 200,000, and it's very clear what the community is about there. But there's a good reason for actually writing this down, because what I see with a lot of the smaller communities is that they just talk about the community itself, but they don't talk about you, and you need to think of yourself in a story, sort of in a story way of, you would be like the mentor, or you would be like the wise old man, and your community is a environment to give teaching. So like, you're the teacher and you should be talking about yourself, and that's something that people kind of miss when they come to produce their about page and they come to build a community. So it is really important stuff, and it'll become more clear why this stuff is important. It isn't just, we're not just writing this down for fun. So how do your members benefit from joining? What problem is it solving? So let's say I have a course on how to get your first client, because that would be the biggest pain point, right? And let's say I also have a great community of like-minded people, which is the case with most communities. That's the big benefit of joining a community. And we do a lot of lives in order to, let's say, we do a lot of lives, we get a lot of industry experts on, we do a lot of live Q&As with myself and successful members. So obviously now you can see the community is about people that want to make money from web design and growing a web design business. And if you join the community, then you get a lot of free stuff within this free community of how to solve that initial problem of getting your first client. And then obviously, then you've built up, you've got your persona, you've told them the message, and now you're getting people in there that want to do this stuff. And if they have any success, then it'd be very easy for Alex to then message them and say, would you be interested in working one-on-one or consultatively and pay me a bit of money? And that's kind of the free to paid model in a nutshell. I know there's a lot of debate on free to paid and like what's the best way to structure in order to make money, but it's the simplest way, and I think it's the most effective way, and I think you should focus on free to paid. So having a free community and then a paid community, or a free community with paid stuff within the community with tiers. It's just the most sensible way to do it in terms of warming your audience. So what's the roadblock with Alex's members? So obviously they come to it and they want to get a client, because Alex has said in his VSL, I know how to get clients, join my community, and we have all these examples of how you can get your first client, and maybe you have some people, some testimonials on there talking about how they got their first client. So the thing is, why does this person fail to achieve their goals? They probably feel like they're getting it wrong, banging their heads against the wall, trying to figure it out. So that's something that is very emotive, and when you're filling this out, if you can write in an emotive way that's kind of story structured, kind of like this, it's going to benefit you in the long run, because this whole first stage is trying to weave a sort of story narrative through all of these questions and all of these problems and beliefs, limiting beliefs, etc. If you can do that, then it's going to make this a lot easier to work out exactly how to put together your VSL, and ultimately how to get happy customers and how to interview those happy customers in order to make money from your community and grow your community and get higher conversion rate. So just try and write it as emotively as possible. They feel like they're getting it wrong, banging their head against the wall, trying to figure it out, but there's a simple solution. They're doing it wrong. So this is a big thing in webinars. They're doing it wrong. So this is how I presented my lives before, where I say a lot of people that start communities, they focus on the source of traffic to push them to their Skool community. They focus on trying to get as many people in as possible, and then I say, you're doing it wrong. The thing that you need to focus on is the actual conversion rate of your community before you start pushing people to the community, because otherwise you're just going to get people land on there and not convert. So that's an example of calling out exactly what they're doing wrong, and then presenting that as the solution. So it's kind of flipping a problem into a solution, and that's something that you can think about when you come in to do your VSL, etc. So they're doing it wrong. I have a simple 5-step process, and you can get that in my community. Therefore, what is their limiting belief? That there isn't a way to get clients, or I'm not smart enough to work it out. And what's the impact of that? The impact of that is, I think web design is a bad business to start and won't be profitable. So that's quite a bad place to be. But if you have the solution, then that's a very good place to be. So what does success look like? What are the cold, hard, measurable results that you're delivering to your members? So you can work this out quite easily if you go on any of the Skool communities. So we can work out this really easily. If we look even at Skoolers, I imagine, yep, they have a list of things they do in order to solve the problem. The problem for Skoolers is that people want to grow their Skool community, and then they help them do that. Let's take another example. So AIS Automation Society. So I think that actually Nate has a better one on his paid community. So he has a list of what you get if you join. This is all the stuff that is essentially solving the problem. Let's do one more example and actually read it this time maybe. So you got Lady Change, the #1 menopause community. They help people that have gone through menopause or peri or post, and they help them lose weight. So what's inside? Direct coaching and access with Petra Genko, the creator. Friendly workout routines, easy meal plans, weekly Q&As, supportive community of over 1,500 women, and fun challenges with cash prizes. So that's all stuff working towards the goal of solving the problem. And you need to think about this when you're creating your community. What is my community about? What problem is it solving? And what steps, and I'll come on to steps later, that's really important. What steps are going to get people from A to B? So let's say, I mean, we've already talked about this a bit earlier, but essentially it's like we have a course, let's say, on getting your first client. So that would obviously be a huge thing to do a course on, and then actually track it and see how people are doing. So you're making sure the course works. If they can get the first client in your community, you've won. In this case, if it's a community about, let's say, AI storytelling, if you have a course on how to create your first AI story and create a 2-minute movie, and you make it really simple, and you make it a quick win. It's really important, a quick win. And then you put that course on your free community, and people actually make a movie and they post it back to the community. Then you've won that client. If that client was ever going to pay you, they're going to pay you now. If they weren't going to pay you, they're not going to pay you, and that is just the way that the community works. But it's super critical that we can offer them the first step in that solution. So course on getting your first client, lives with industry experts. And if you don't have this list, then you can work this out now. It doesn't have to be what's there now. It can just be what you think would actually achieve them that first step on their goal, in their journey of, in this instance, creating a successful web design agency. Lives with industry experts, live Q&As with me, Alex, and my successful members, active community of X let's say 100 people, let's say it's a small one, solving each other's problems. And then it becomes, well, how do I get people to solve problems for each other? And that's just a question about like my community and how I actually engage my community. And I don't want to go into too much detail on all of that, but there's definitely things you can do to engage your community. And the main thing is just be active every single day. And this is obviously it might look easy, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to maintain. It is hard work, but if you're up to the challenge, then you're gonna achieve your goals if you work in this way. Alright, now we're back to wealth, status, relationship and health, these transformative things that you deliver your customers. It doesn't always impact all of these, but certainly it should impact their status. In the left column, put what thing it is, what type, and in the right column put an example. So let's go with Alex and what he's delivering. First off, he's delivering status, because if you actually achieve the goals that he's outlining in his offer on his VSL and in his community, and you look at the success stories, then the status play is going to be, and we can write this as an example, as like what that person might say. Let's say I was trying desperately, can't type, thank you Google, to get clients for my web design agency. I was really good at the design bit and maybe let's say the marketing angle, but I just couldn't figure out how to get clients. Now with Alex's help, I've achieved my goals beyond my wildest dreams. So this is obviously where like actually fulfilling on what your community does is critical, and if you don't, then none of this will work. So you do need to figure that stuff out. But let's say I got 10 clients in my first 4 months. Now I'm looking to hire. So I made this way too long actually. But what is this? So if we take that as an example, what's the status that this person has received? I have more confidence in myself. My community member peers are very impressed with my performance, and some are jealous. So who else is important in status? It kind of links into relationships. So the most important people in your life are your family and your friends. So friends, very impressed. Maybe they're asking how I can get into this. Maybe your family is finally believing you can be an entrepreneur and a successful one. So there's a million different status things that happen when you actually achieve the goal. So health doesn't really play into this, but it can play into it, and I can explain how. So let's say now I'm earning more, I'm happier and healthier, have more time for the gym, have more money for good food. So an example, that's like kind of like a very secondary thing and a secondary sort of transformation, and it's not the biggest transformation, but the reason that we're writing all these out is so that we can know exactly what our ideal customer and our ideal successful customer looks like. So then in the future we can really easily put together a list of questions to ask them that are going to try and get them to answer in a way that I'm writing here. And then if you get people to answer in this kind of way, then you're going to get really high quality testimonials that are like story driven testimonials that are going to convert a lot higher. And this is where I've experienced all of my success essentially in my industry. It's where I 2-3x my income or the client's actual conversion rate, and that's what led me to make millions in my industry. So this stuff is super important. That's why it's at the very start, and it's really important to flesh this out. And it's also quite fun. It's not like a lot of these can be quite boring, these initial like offer development things, but with this it's more like if it's like you're sort of telling a story and you're working out the story before you've actually gone through the story, and that's really powerful if you can do that. So let's say obviously wealth kind of plays into that last one here. Just put that in there, and you can write out loads of different ones for these. Like for example, if we did one specifically on the course, and then that would be so wealth. So I earned back what I spent. Let's say that he spent $500 on a one-on-one. I earned back what I spent, or maybe he spent $500 on a course in this example. So I earned back what I spent in 5 days and more. I made 10,000 So you can go granular on this as well and try and work out what each step is actually delivering. But this is honestly just like an exercise to work out what your ideal customer and your ideal successful customer looks like. The final one is relationship, and we kind of touched on that on the first one because it's so goddamn long. Relationship. So I'm happier in myself and therefore happier with my girlfriend, and now I'm earning more money. I'm looking into proposing very soon. So that's like one for young men especially. Like they're only going to propose if they feel confident and happy in themselves, and especially if they got lots of money in the bank. So that's one that you can kind of write down as well. So we've got a lot there. So the steps to success. So you have all of these different ideal testimonials that you've kind of invented. So how do we actually get them to this point? And it should be with all of this stuff. So if we take this here, like what's the measurable results from the success, and then we put it in here. So what do they need to overcome this roadblock and limiting belief? Oh, sorry, this is that one. So what do they need to overcome this roadblock and limiting belief? They need to understand. They need to go through the course, understand, let's say, the psychology behind selling, understand the best marketing system, lowest cost results or leads in abundance. They need to essentially operate like Alex. I think that's his name, I've forgotten. And any questions or problems, push to the community and start connecting with each other. So that's what they need to overcome the roadblock. What are the steps to doing this? So the first thing that you do, maybe you have a free one-on-one to define the problem, and that's a very good thing to offer. Is if you're a small community especially, you probably have the time to actually get on a call with each individual member. You can also do a live where every maybe Monday you get them all on a call and maybe you audit them. In this case, maybe he could audit their website and say, well, what you're doing wrong here is that, and then they can get a lot of value. You can develop a lot of trust and proof in yourself and your offering. As much interaction and touch points as possible. Touch points is a big thing. To explain that quickly, in the old world where we didn't have Skool, you'd have to set up a website, you'd have to set up an email chain, you'd have to set up maybe a Facebook community, although I never did that. You'd have to set up the email chain is the main thing, and you have to pull all that together. And if anyone did anything within that, if someone opened an email, if they signed up to learn more, if they downloaded something, that's a touch point, and obviously an action as well within that. But the thing is with Skool, you have all these things together, and the benefit of that is that the touch points are very high because there's less friction. You're not going between different platforms, and that's a big benefit to you because you want as many touch points as possible. You want to push people to take as many actions as possible in the direction of solving their goal. And when they start doing that, then they become warmed, and when they're warmed, then they're more likely to convert with your paid thing. So that's kind of what touch points are, and it's something that's really critical and something I'll probably do more on in the future, but I just wanted to let you know about touch points and actions. So step one, so we're thinking about what, at this stage I think we're just working out exactly what we deliver. So let's go with that. Free one-on-one course, lives with industry experts, lives with Alex, and an active community. So now it's the stepped solution. So what order do we deliver these in? So let's say we have a free one-on-one, and the benefit of that is to work out exactly what the problem is and how to solve. So then Alex can say, well, now you have to go on the course and focus on this, and this, but do it in its entirety for biggest benefit. And then what's next? So we've got the lives. Maybe actually, if you have any problems, make a post on community or message me. So this is more touch points, more actions. This is what we want. We want people to stay warm and to stay within your community. And then every Monday, watch our lives, and maybe there's a section where people talk about their wins. Every Thursday, industry expert. And then maybe it's like once they've done all that, then they've solved the problem of getting their first client and they've figured it out. And then maybe there's a paid community course. And then when they've done the paid community course, then maybe there's a one-on-one. And then when they've done that, maybe you have a system that you sell them. So it's kind of like a timeline of how you're solving the problem. Obviously, we're only going to talk about these, and if you're running a free community, you only talk about up to the point of the free stuff, just to keep it simple. Talk about the community and what that delivers. But once you've got them to that point, then you can push them towards these things a lot easier because they're a lot warmer and they've actually had some success. They've had a small win within your community, and they believe in it and they want to move forward and they want to work with you more. So now number them in order of when they happen and what value they give. So we've done that, and we can work out the value now. So one, a free one-on-one, work out exactly what the problem is and how to solve it. And then step 2 is that you do the course, and maybe this would be stepped. So it's like marketing, sales, the client delivery system, and your first paid client. So the actual steps might be free one-on-one, and then you do the marketing, you do the sales, you do the marketing, and you figure out exactly how to market and what platform to market on. Maybe you have the website optimization, and then you know exactly that you're converting on that. And then you have the sales, you know how to convert when you get them on a call, when you push them to join a Calendly. And then you have the actual delivery of the actual service, and that's stepped so that you can do the web design as efficiently as possible. And then obviously they land their first paid client. And maybe that's something that you say within the VSL. The whole goal of joining this community is to get your first paid client, and we're going to tell you exactly how to do it. And if you follow this step by step, then there's a huge likelihood that you can close your first client if you put in the effort. So that then becomes something for the persona that's very lucrative and very interesting, and that's where they want to be now. So you can take that and you can map that to absolutely anything, any community, and some of them are easier than others, some of them are different. So let's take, for example, Lady Change again. So what's inside? It's direct coaching and access with Petra Genko, friendly workout routines. So what you do, you'd order these. So maybe you start out with a workout routine, and then you do the meal plan, and then you do a direct coaching session, and then you do weekly Q&As, and then you have the support of the community, and maybe you can win some money. But the key things is whatever. You don't need to put everything in the steps, just the things that are going to provide the value and get you to the next step, and then provide you the value and get you to the next step. And then stuff like the community and the additional prizes and stuff like that, that's like USPs, which is unique selling points, and that's additional supportive things for the actual steps, if that makes sense. So this is your step solution with value at every stage and how they will feel having completed each stage, all leading to the end goal of solving the biggest problem, slaying the dragon, and living the dream. So now what we want to do is work out the ideal customer journey, which is based around the hero's journey, which is basically the best story ever told, and it's what everything's based off. So like The Hobbit, Harry Potter, everything, list other big movies. Everything is based on the hero's journey. So the way that we want to answer this is like a story. So we want to assume we are the customer, and we want to write exactly what their transformative experience is going to be. So the ordinary world, the client's initial state. So for someone that's joining Alex's community, this would be, I've been trying to start my web design business, but feel like I'm failing at every hurdle. I feel like I have no peers to talk about my problems. YouTube videos don't cut it. Wish I had the answers. Family don't believe in me and want me to get a normal job, let's say, right? And maybe you can pull from personal experience with this stuff. The call to adventure, the trigger that ignites the desire for change. So how are they going to find out about your community is essentially the call to adventure. Let's say in this instance that it's Alex produces YouTube videos on how to run a successful web design agency. So I found Alex's videos and they were different from the rest. He didn't leave anything out. They were very detailed, and I found success in individual videos. And when I heard about his Skool community and the offer of getting your first client for reasonable, I had to look into it, further. Alright, so resistance and doubt, the ineffective methods they've already tried, establishes why the DIY won't work, why the do-it-yourself won't work. So I mean, we already spoke about this, right? So we said, I feel like I'm failing at every hurdle. I tried other YouTubers' content, but nothing worked. I need support as well as the answers. I have the energy and drive, just don't know the direction. So you can see here that we're actually really fleshing out what the story is of your customer, and oftentimes it will be really similar, especially if you actually know what your customer's like and you've actually worked with people within your community. The story is going to be really similar every time, and if it is similar every time, then you're on the right track, because you want to define your persona, your ideal client. You want to define them as something very tight and a very particular type of person with a very particular type of problem, so that you can actually provide all the value to them. So the allies and mentors. So this again, we're talking about Alex. So I decided that Alex's community was the right fit for me. The road of trials, the disciplined effort required within your system. I committed, so this, we could probably say that we committed here. So you are the mentor in this instance, and the allies are the people within the community. So we can say I committed and joined Alex's community, started speaking and looking at posts of other members, and knew and was very confident I'd made the right choice. So the road of trials, the disciplined effort required within your system. So the system, we've already outlined the system up here. This is what they have to do. And so essentially we're talking about the course here. I did Alex's get your first paid client free course, and it was difficult to accomplish everything, but because it was so detailed, I was able to do it relatively quickly, and any questions I had, I pushed to the community, and they were all very helpful. Okay, great. This is what we want. The transformation, the success achievement. So let's say this is the big money thing. So the transformation, this is the health transformation, or the wealth transformation, or the status transformation, or the relationship transformation, depending on your niche, and you do need to work out which one that is, but hopefully you have by now. Within the first 2 months, I landed my first client, and the day after I landed my second. I'm well on the way, and I'm continuously learning from the community. In fact, someone mentioned how to sell to pet groomers, and I took on that advice and was able to close my first 2 calls. So this is a transformation, because I always thought that I couldn't be successful, and I was just banging my head against the wall. Everyone else, my friends and family, didn't believe in me, but I found Alex, and he's turned the tides and turned the tables, and now I'm set up for success. So we can put that, so set up for success. So something has changed within me, I've transformed. The return, the achievement of the secondary intangible goals, the elixir, that's very confusing, I might need to reword that. So the return on the hero's journey, and I can show this quickly. So if we look at the hero's journey here, the actual return is coming back to the known from the unknown, because the unknown is when you've actually crossed the threshold and you've committed to the journey, and then you've come out of that at the very end, and you've essentially returning having changed. So you're back to where you were in the start, but you're bigger and better. And what does that look like? So we can put that in here quite succinctly, I think. I mean, we kind of already have with the transformation, but now we're talking about directly about kind of the secondary effects of the transformation, which is like if the transformation is I made 10k in my first 2 months and I closed 2 clients, then what's the health, wealth, etc. effect? It's that happier in self, that status, bigger status within community, healthier maybe because I can focus on the gym. It's all the stuff we've already talked about, and this is the critical things that tie everything together and makes it a really strong story. So family is more confident, Maybe I have the respect of my dad. It's the really intangible things. And Alex himself, very impressed, let's say. So that is your ideal customer journey. And although it's a bit of a complicated thing to put together, hopefully I've helped you in some way put that together. And now that we have all this, when we look at the next steps, which is telling your winning story and telling your members' stories, probably in your mind you have a bit of a better idea of exactly how that's going to play out, because you already have this big document full of exactly what your customer looks like, what your offer looks like, and when you put together the VSL, it's going to be a lot simpler because you know the steps, like you can see here, 1, 2, 3. It's all about talking about the steps. It's all about developing the trust in you and what you achieve or what you plan to achieve, and then ultimately getting really good testimonials that we can put on your about page. And yeah, so hopefully this hasn't been too long. It feels like it's been quite long, but I'll edit it down and try and make it as manageable as possible. And the second step, telling your winning story and developing your VSL, that'll be out very soon. So that's the first part of the course done, 1 of 3. Please do let me know on the community tab, write a bit about it here and tell me how you found it, and then also share your wins on here as well if you've taken the course and you've had any success. So this is what Nick's done. I've worked with Nick, basically done each of the 3 steps over an hour-long call with him. By the way, you can do that yourself if you go to the community. Just to show you, if you go to Classroom and then you go to the free 60-minute audit, you can see you got a bunch more members. Then you can just click the link and you can book a call with me, and I can go through all of this stuff with you for free. But yeah, you can see that Nick's actually posted on the group and he's had some success, which is really, really cool. He's climbed 100 spots in the discovery tables or whatever it's called. So this stuff really does work. It's really simple stuff. It's based on basic knowledge, basic marketing knowledge and basic structures, as well as a big emphasis on story structure and how story can impact conversion. Thank you for watching all the way through. If you're interested in actually thank you for watching all the way through. Again, if you're interested in me actually helping you one-on-one for free, then please do join my Skool community, link in description, and I can do a one-on-one call with you over the course of an hour. I can spend with you to work out exactly how you can increase your conversion rate. I'm doing this because I'm trying to build a portfolio on Skool. I'm already working with some of the top creators, and I'm working with a lot of smaller creators, so I really am sort of working with all shapes and sizes of communities. So please do take me up on that offer if you're interested. Otherwise, thank you for watching.